Hello there, good evening and welcome to this special edition of Zambia Decides. Today it's exactly 20 days before Decision Day. On August the 13th, as you know, Zambians will be choosing their next set of leaders. Now, in the middle of a very tight campaign schedule, we are privileged to be sitting with the opposition frontrunner. That's President Brian Mundubile, representing the NRP-UP in the August 13 general elections. And we'd like to find out his reflections on the campaign so far. Mr. President, welcome to Zambia Decides.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc. Happy to be here this evening.
Wonderful. Now, first of all, let's start with first things first. Before we talk about your reflections of what has happened here on the Copper Belt, this morning, your campaign team was provoked at a hotel, for that matter, and a lot of property in terms of vehicles were destroyed. When you heard this information, what was your reaction? What came to your mind?
Well, first, Doc, I was not surprised. I knew that from yesterday. I knew that the police, under the supervision of President Hakainde Hichilema, UPND cadres will go to any length to try and distract us, to try and frustrate us, to try and annoy us on this campaign trail. You remember that yesterday the police went up to the extent of getting onto the stage on a rally platform in Twapia, led by Commissioner Yui, to try and stop our rally. Now the point is, we are here on the Copper Belt for 5 days according to the ECZ calendar, and we are at liberty to carry out our campaign activities that will range from rallies, road shows, radio programs, among others. So today, from yesterday, the police came up with their own rules, as usual, to say you can't have road shows. Then we asked them that road shows are part of campaigns. It's some form of a rally, in motion, as it were. Why should you then decide to stop us from having road shows? When President Hakainde Hichilema is having road shows everywhere, Lusaka, Kawe, and they wouldn't answer. Yeah, so many people exposed to what happened in Twapia. They were not exposed to what transpired between Kafulafuta and Indola, where the police kept on chasing us, trying to block us. The same happened when we were having our road shows in Chifubu. So this morning, those thugs were actually escorted by the police. The police were right behind the thugs. So it was designed, it was choreographed. So if you see, ask witnesses that were there, they will tell you that right behind the thugs were the police. They witnessed all that happened. A number of vehicles have been damaged. People have been injured, as it were.
What does this do to the morale in your camp right now? You are supposed to be heading to another location for the rally this afternoon. With this that has happened, very unfortunately, how would you describe the mood of the team? Are they dampened or are they fired up?
The team is more resolved. They're actually fired up. They're resolved. They're not stopping at anything. Not by police brutality, not by the thuggery from the UPND. I'm happy today that Zambians are able to see President Hakainde Hichilema would like to paint PF as having been a violent party in trying to castigate myself and the running mate. He runs back to the PF days, and he's asking the citizens whether they would like to go back to the days of the Pangas. The question that we have for the Zambians is that, are you ready to continue President Hakainde Hichilema? Do you want to continue with a president that can send thugs on a peaceful campaign team? a president that would send thugs to come and damage vehicles the way they have done. And yet we have 8 people incarcerated in Kabwe on account of damage to property. One of their vehicles was allegedly damaged by Chilangwa, Chitotel and the rest of them. What will this president do to his thugs, his members that came to damage over 15 vehicles at Shebon Hotel today? What will he say? Will he come out and make a statement? Will he still continue talking about thuggery and violence in other political parties before he condemns, before he names and shames, before he disciplines his own political cadres? Yeah, but to answer your question, PK, we are more resolved. We are not going to be stopped at anything.
Before I move away from this, do you expect any arrests?
No, there can be no arrests. There can be no arrests. There's been no arrests in the death that occurred in Magoe. 3 people died in Kanyama because they were playing our campaign songs. There's been no arrests. There were only arrests in Kaputa on trumped-up charges. UPND members were fighting over some money that resulted in the death of one of them. And the UPND quickly instructed the police to arrest our members, who were not even there where the fight occurred, so that they could quickly suspend the campaigns. Now look at the double standards by the ECZ, okay? Will ECZ suspend UPND campaigns on the Copper Belt on account of what has transpired today? Did they suspend the campaigns in Kanyama where 3 people were killed? What about Magoe? Just yesterday in Southern Province, that could have been in Livingstone or Kazungula area. 3 people were badly beaten. These were supporters of an independent councillor. What is this ECZ saying? Yeah, so this speaks volumes, PK, to where this is going. And I'm happy that the international community is in Zambia. They are monitoring the events as they unfold. They saw what happened yesterday, the police interference in our political rallies, starting with the road show, coming to Tuapia, our drive from Kafulafuta. The police are monitoring the violence by the EPND, where they come to the hotel where we are camped, and they begin to break vehicles in the manner that they did, and yet there's been no arrests. And as we are saying, now they are going to Luansha, where we are going to try and intimidate us. But do not cow down. We'll go to Luansha.
Right. Now, the electric atmosphere of the crowd that have been following you. I have been privileged to follow in 1 or 2 of the places you are campaigning. I've never seen your team busing anyone, ferrying anybody. The crowds simply sort of walk. If they can't drive on their own, they walk. The incident you talked about when police were blocking you from accessing Tuapia, our crew was already set up in Tuapia, and no one was leaving despite the delays. How does that make you feel when you personally and your team are somewhat being persecuted, delayed, and all these things happening, but somehow the crowd stay put and wait for you into the evenings? How does that really make you feel as a leader aspiring to change the fortunes of this nation?
Well, of course, that inspires us. It motivates us into ensuring that when victory has been delivered, we should work for the Zambian people. The Zambian people are resolved. PK, in that crowd, you will find civil servants, teachers, nurses, and other government workers who have been leading a hopeless life. They now have hope, PK, because they know we've made an undertaking to implement the debt swap policy. Those civil servants know that we have made an undertaking to improve their welfare by way of building more houses for civil servants. They know that we will immediately look at the housing allowances as they wait for us to build them houses. In that crowd, They are men and women in uniform who have gone through a very difficult time, and they look to be motivated. Housing is one such area that we are looking at for men and women in uniform. Many of those have had their notches stagnated for over 5 years. There's been no upward mobility or an upward adjustment in their notching system. You know, it has simply been frozen. Having saved, they expect to have been moving, and that movement would also adjust their salary scale, as it were. They now have hope because we have said we immediately ensure that we unlock that and it begins to move forward. There are farmers in the audience that have hope now that our government will give 8 bags of fertilizers plus legumes, and those that are getting legumes will get an extra 2 bags to make it 10. We have told parents that you are seeing in that audience that our free education will now include free books and free uniforms. The mine workers, we are saying to the mine workers that miners need respect. I'm going to announce at the rally that we'll be having this afternoon, we actually want to come up with Miners' Day. We have to have a day that we celebrate the miners. They are the people that have been responsible for the major economic shift and development, infrastructure development for our country. Yeah, we want to come up with Miners' Day when we can celebrate the miners, as it were.
Right.
We want to enforce the sectoral minimum wages. We've seen that the major mining houses are beginning to dodge their responsibilities by contracting out the mining activities. So they use contractors to do contract mining. So the differences between the people who are working for the mainstream mines and the people and the salaries for those that are working for subcontractors are the differences are very wide. We are saying we're closing that gap by coming up with what we're calling sectoral minimum wages. So pretty much it doesn't matter whether you work for a subcontractor or because we will then prescribe by law what the minimum wages will be. So we have a very clear message, including for the small-scale miners. They now know they've got Big Brother. They've got Zebige. You know, Zebige will come in form of Zambia Gold as an aggregator. Be able to give them equipment to use, be able to assist them in safe mining, but at the same time be an off-taker of what they're producing. And through this measure, we are going to produce youth millionaires from small-scale mining after fully formalizing this particular sector. In all these areas, including Kikonge, Chisamba, Kanyelele, Kasenseli, in Mwinilunga, we go into Chipata, we are going to Lupilwandalama in Serenje, we are going to Pelu, we are going to Vimbe, we are going to Masola, you know, in Central Province. Yeah, so we are looking at, for instance, students' welfare. Okay, universities have remained closed for a very long time. That will not happen under our government without any proper explanation. Lecturers today are struggling. They're not getting their allowances in these universities. So the voices, the government that will change and improve their welfare is a government under President Mundubile and Vice President Makebi Zulu. So those are the people that you see coming to listen to what we have to say.
Obviously, you've excited them. They've heard promises before, and they're looking forward to what you are able to do after August 13. Now, with all the promises that you've made, free education, free uniforms, free books, the notching high of salary scale for men and women in uniform, and so many other, what's the grand plan in terms of resource envelope? Where will you be getting these resources that will realize the aspirations that you are actually exciting in the voters?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that the resource envelope that is there already is enough to even take care of what we've talked about. It's a question of priority. I've always given this example, PK. The highest budget under the Patriotic Fund, where I was minister, was 120 billion. That was the highest. All these projects that you're seeing, airports, roads, and everything, came from budgets that were under 100 billion kwacha. The first budget for the UPND started at 170 billion, which was 50 billion over and above the highest budget of the PF. After supplementary, it came to 230. Okay? That was almost double the budget of the PF. Now tell me, PK, you've been around long enough. Tell me one single project the UPND has done, with all this money. None. Are we together? So firstly, there's enough money already. It's a question of priority. What will you spend this money on? Now, I will tell you what we're going to spend this money on. Our number one agenda is to fight poverty. We're going to fight poverty through job creation. We're going to create jobs through industrialization. We're going to industrialize through investment in backbone infrastructure. Simple and straightforward. Continuing from where the other government ended, we will prioritize the construction of roads. When we go to Eastern Province, for instance, we will prioritize the construction of the Lundazi-Chipata Road, Chipata-Lundazi Road, Lundazi-Chama, Chama-Matumbo. That will link Eastern Province and Muchinga Province. The potential in tourism that lies along that corridor is immense. Okay, so by investing in that particular road infrastructure, we open up that area for agriculture and tourism. And because we're opening up to these key economic sectors, we expect to begin to industrialize around tourism and agriculture and create employment along that area. The same will be from Chama coming into Muyombe, Muyombe into Mpika, into Isoka, Muyombe Mafinga into Isoka. So that's a sort of investment that we are talking about. We will invest in roads like Mansabombwe, Nchelenge, Mununga, Kanchinda up to Kaputa. If you go to that area, PK, the potential in tourism along that area is second to none. And we will capitalize on areas like that with which are low-hanging fruits to industrialize around the comparative advantages that these particular areas have. Yeah, so our money will go towards road infrastructure in key areas where we can actually harness investment.
Right.
Yeah, we will invest in farming blocks, like I've always said. We will develop all the 12 farming blocks in the country. Yeah, from the budget, the investment will go into those areas so that we attract investments in that area, the investments that will now generate jobs, create jobs. An average farming block will target around 30,000 jobs. So there are 300,000 jobs that we are targeting within the first 24 months through the development of these farming blocks.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, before we move away from this, you have been an advocate of farmers. Almost on every podium, you are given an opportunity to speak to the people. You have insisted on the government announcing the floor price for maize. Today, FRIA has called out what will be the maize purchasing price for the farmers. I'm not sure if you are privy to the numbers. I think 347 or thereabout. Whether this is what you expected, whether that will sit well with the farmers, whether it was necessary for the delay that they've endured. What's your reaction to this news now? Finally, what you've been advocating for has been delivered to the farmers.
Well, firstly, it's sad that they took this long to make this announcement. And if you go on the ground, you establish that most of the farmers had started selling their maize to briefcase businessmen at a much lower price that has been announced. But also what is unfortunate is that the delay in announcing this price has been on account of the fact that FRA has had no money. And FRA has had no money because FRA had been giving maize to ZNS. ZNS through Ego Milling. And Ego Milling began to give out milling meal to unscrupulous individuals, individuals of questionable character, as it were. Individuals that have run away with this money that is running in billions. And coincidentally, these individuals are actually UPND, the President Hakainde Hichilema's friends. President Hakainde Hichilema, who has been speaking or condemning others for thefts, for corruption and so on, and yet he has had friends. Maybe a group of them, could be 10. We are told there's some heading the legislature, some former ministers, some media directors, and all around President Hakainde Hichilema. They got the maize, they got the millennials, sold it in Congo. And you know the transactions in Congo are predominantly cash-based, meaning they were paid. And a year later, they have not paid FRA. So there are a lot of figures we're getting. Whatever the case, there is over 10 billion kwacha worth of millimil or maize, which was gotten from FRA that has not been paid for, right, and is unlikely to be paid for. Right. So the farmers have suffered to this end because of a few selfish individuals that are working under President Hakainde Hichilema's government, as it were. Now, so we are really expecting, we're waiting for a statement. Now, President Hakainde Hichilema, right, over this scandal.
And I was going to pick up on that because yesterday you challenged the president's silence on two issues. The first issue is the alleged financial scandal around FRA. Yeah. The other silence that you challenged the president about is the silence around what you have consistently called out to be 5, election-related deaths. You think the president is being deliberate? Why do you think it is taking him too long to respond to both scandals of very high, proportions in terms of how other matters have been dealt with in the past and how these issues are being dealt with, yes, looked at? What do you expect? I mean, you've called out these and you've said the president must speak. Are you expecting him to speak? Are you expecting him to address these issues?
Yes, I'm expecting him to speak. Remember, there is one death from Samansama, that's a brother of mine, a relative of mine. There was one death for Vespa. There is another death for Lawrence. The president has consistently carried messages of these deaths for the past 5 years. And if he has not forgotten about these deaths for 5 years, he's carried them in his memory. How can he ignore a death that just occurred yesterday on account of political violence? How can he ignore the death of Nelson Chikumbi, who was killed merely because he was playing a campaign song at his radio repair shop? 2 other people were killed in the same manner. Another person was hacked with pangas by UPND cadres. This person was a driver. I think he was a Mr. Sakala. He was a driver for one of the independent candidates in Magoye. Yeah, so why has the president remained quiet? Would you expect the president to remain quiet over the attack that we experienced this morning? The attack on the NRP-UP team at the hotel by UPND cadres. Should the president remain quiet? If the president decides to remain quiet, the conclusion would be that he does not mean well when he condemns violence. He only condemns violence. He can only see violence in other camps and not violence in his own camp. As the case has been for corruption, the president has never spoken about the goat scam at the airport. He's not commenting on the scandal at FRA. He has never spoken, condemned the corruption at the Ministry of Health, as it were. He has not condemned or talked about the corruption that happened in the procurement of ambulances, okay, and many other cases of corruption under his government. So Zambians should be very clear as they go to vote that when they listen to President Hakainde Hichilema say something, they should take it with a pinch of salt. One, he does not mean well in the fight against corruption. When he talks about political violence and cadreism, Zambians should simply ignore him. Because if you're serious about that, you'd have been condemning the various cases of violence that have occurred. And certainly when he talks about the welfare of farmers, the Zambian farmers should simply ignore him. Because he would not have allowed billions of kwacha to be siphoned and pilfered by members of his party whilst the farmers are suffering out there.
Now, I will not take you long. I can hear engines running, obviously signaling that we may have to let you go. But President Mundubile, you have now 3 provinces remaining that you need to cover in the next few days. And your last push in this campaign, you are going into a region that has been held, in public perception to be the stronghold of the UPND. You're talking about Northwestern. You'll be going to Western, and your last rallies will be in Southern Province. Are you expecting a hostile reception, a hostile environment? If you can be attacked here on the Copper Belt, which may be regarded as a neutral ground, how are you psyching you and your team up to face what might be lying ahead? Or should we expect that the mood that we have been seeing of crowds is the same mood that we're going to witness as you go to the last lap of your campaign on the Zambezi side?
Yes, PK, being attacked by a horde of cadres does not in any way take away the popularity that you enjoy as a political formation. I'll tell you that a Northwestern province is now a stronghold for NRP-UP. It is no longer a stronghold for the UPND. It's no longer a stronghold in that, one, go to Northwestern province. Northwestern province fully supported President Hakainde Hichilema. What has the president done for the people of Northwestern province? What has the president done to develop or improve the infrastructure in Northwestern province? Northwestern province hosts the biggest mines on the continent. What is there to show for it? Look at the Mwinilunga-Solwezi Road, for instance. Look at the many infrastructure programs. Look at the road to Ikeleng, to start with. Go to chiefdoms. You have our chiefs, whose chiefdoms are the areas where these big mines are. What benefit is there for these chiefs? So we're going there with a very clear message. To start with, we will respect the fact that most of the wealth of this country is coming from Northwestern province. The infrastructure development starts from there. I know you may want to do what is called the butter spread approach, where you thinly spread your resources right across the country. That's not how it works. You start with the low-hanging fruits, the easier areas to develop. This is where this wealth is coming from. Within 2 years, we expect to be done with the Solwezi Mwinilunga Ikeleng Road, because these are areas where major gold mines are. This is where most of the wealth is actually coming from. Yeah, within the first 2 years, we expect that small-scale miners mining around Kikonge, because whatever the case may be, will give back that mine, that area, to the youths to be able to mine gold, and will formalize the mining activities around that, as it were. If colleagues had come up with some big players backdoor to grab that land from our youths, we've made one undertaking. We're giving it back to the youths of Northwestern province and all those that were working there. We are going to speak to our chiefs. We'll make sure that our chiefs are dignified, our chiefdoms are dignified. Instead of taking their eyes towards CDF, which is only 40 million kwacha, those chiefs have got mining activities that are generating billions of dollars every year. Why should we point a chief to look at CDF, instead of them having a share in the wealth that is leaving their area through corporate social responsibility and some percentage going to the trusts within the chiefdoms, as it were. So these are practical reforms. We want now our chiefdoms to be able to benefit. There must be a certain portion from the wealth that is generated in that particular area that is given to the chiefdom. The chiefdom will then decide how to invest it in healthcare facilities, schools, water facilities, roads, and many others within the chiefdom. That does not mean government to stop carrying out developmental programs, but the chiefs and the chiefdoms also should be able to do part of the development on their own, as opposed to what is happening to Northwestern province. It's a sorry sight. Chiefs are crying every day. They're crying for palaces. But these are chiefs with mines generating billions, and the chief has no palace. Yeah, so we want to cure that. We want to make sure that the Zambian people benefit from the wealth that is coming from their areas. Western Province. Western Province is one of our strongholds today. What has UPND done for the people of Western Province, apart from promising them lies? You look at the potential that lies in livestock, for instance. Government has done nothing to improve the animal population in Western Province. They've done nothing to invest in veterinary hospitals in Western Province. In short, they have not revamped what would have been a very serious economic sector in livestock in Western Province. We will improve the animal population. We will improve the animal health in Western Province and introduce aggregators. An aggregator that will be operating modern abattoirs, okay, that will process animals, will pay for animals when they're delivered, and the government on the other side will look at the health and the animal population within Western Province. Look at infrastructure. Look at the Luampa Mlobezi Road. Look at the Katunda Lukulu Road. Okay, look at the Kaoma Kasempa Road. Look at the Tatayoyo Katunda Road. All this infrastructure has remained undeveloped over this period. So with a budget double what the PF had, what does the UPND go to show the people of Western Province? So we're going to Western Province with a very clear message. Number one, how we are going to revamp the livestock sector as a mainstay. We are going there to look at the cashew nut project in Western Province. We are going there to look at the key infrastructure that I've mentioned, as it were. We're going there to revamp the growing of cassava, for instance, in the agriculture sector, as it were. Yeah, so Western and Northwestern provinces are now our strongholds, as it were. And you will see, the time that we'll go there. There may be a few sponsored cadres who will try to disturb that, but that will not take away the fact.
So you expect the crowds to continue?
Of course.
Even in these places?
The people in Western and Northwestern provinces are Zambians like any other Zambians living on the Copper Belt, Northern and many other places.
Yesterday the president called you out that you are working with Honorable Gary Nkombo, that the Kendo and the Lantern, they are one and the same. In any case, if you were working with him, he's a Zambian. But yes. I want you to put it on record. Yeah. Are you collaborating? Should that be a challenge for the president to even worry about?
No, I have not spoken to Honorable Nkombo. He's a friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. We have not collaborated insofar as this particular election is concerned. Of course, given a chance, I would like to work with Gary Nkombo. We want to break through into Southern Province. The people of Southern Province have got to know that we are all Zambians. There's nothing criminal between a Bemba and a Tonga coming together to work. These are things that have happened in the past. And I was saddened when I listened to the president zeroing in on a citizen who was his member, putting a full 10 tons of his weight on Gary Nkombo. Very unfortunate. You remember, PK, that if there are people that fought for President Hakainde Hichilema, Gary Nkombo is one of them. I'll talk about Lufuma. I'll talk about Jack Mwimbu. I'll talk about Cornelius Mwetwa. I'll talk about Edgar, who's Edgar from, the name is gone, Mutelo, from Mitete, Edgar Singombe, okay, Mutelo from Mitete. These are people that stood and fought, okay, for President Hakainde Hichilema. I was I was government chief whip at the time. And these are the people that we fought battles with in Parliament, fighting for President Hakainde Hichilema. Whatever the differences were, I don't think that the position President Hakainde Hichilema took against Gary was a good one. We have seen the president going after citizens. He went after Mulenga Fube in Chilubi, called him names, telling the people of Chilubi that Chilubi was not delimitated because Fube did not support Bill 7. Really? A difference with one individual? You punish hundreds of thousands of people? Chilubi has got 24 wards. The president was delimitating constituencies with 8 wards. Chilubi remains with 24 wards. He's got the mainland, island, and the swamps. And President showed that he could keep personal grudges and deny development to the people of Chilubi because he does not like Fube. So when I saw him talking about Gary Nkombo, I felt very sad. But the Zambian people were really saying, you should take your time and decide whether you would want such a president that would actually attack individuals. As a president, descend from that seat, jump into this arena and begin to attack individuals with all the power that the president has. I don't think a president should do that. A president should always be above. Yeah, so we are not working with Gary Nkombo. We would want to work with Gary Nkombo. Given an opportunity, even at the last minute, I would want to work with Gary Nkombo. But what the president said it was inaccurate. We have not collaborated with Gary Nkombo in this one. The choice of a candle is one option that ECZ itself was giving the candidates. So he cannot say the candle was deliberate. There are candles everywhere because it was one of the options. In any case, if Gary decided to do that, what would be wrong with that? Should President Hakainde Hichilema pit us against the people of Southern Province? I'm saying to the people of Southern Province, don't. I'm your brother. You are my brothers and sisters. We are the same. You know? Isn't that so? Yeah. Isn't that what they say? Yeah. So I want to tell the people of Southern Province, we are coming to Southern Province. We want you to welcome us in Southern Province. We've been welcomed everywhere as an alternative government. So even for you, whether you are voting for us or not, we would want you to listen to what we've got to offer the people of Southern Province. We know the challenges that you're facing in Southern Province. We are coming with a message to come and talk to you so that, you know, we elicit, you know, we canvass for votes from Southern Province. And we're saying to the people of Southern Province, I think the time has come where we have to show one Zambia, one nation, where we have to show that people vote across tribal lines. People will not restrict themselves, you know, to voting for one particular political party, even when it's underperforming going forward. We appreciate your time. We wouldn't want to keep you much longer. You have to go. But my last question to you, Mr. President, is that yesterday we hosted Dr. Seshiwa on State of the Nation, and he predicted that you are winning if there is no rigging. What are you doing and your team to prevent rigging so that perhaps that prediction may be a reality for you? Zambians are resolved, PK. Zambians are resolved, and Zambians are going to protect the vote. They protect this vote. They will look out for their vote to ensure that it's protected against vote stuffing. What we saw in Southern Province is something that we're watching for. What happened in 2021? People stuffing ballot papers and so on. And today, President Hakainde Hichilema is proud that he won that election, even with that evidence that we saw. But this time, even the people of Southern Province are resolved through independent candidates to stop that rigging. We hope we can catch you again before the conclusion of this campaign team. It's 20 days before Zambia decides, and I've been sitting with President Brian Mundubile to just recap on the campaign activities as he has been traversing the country. It remains for us to wish you all the best, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Until next time, the Lord bless you and keep you. Bye-bye.